Welcome back to DevChat. I'm Chuck. Nice to see you all. It's been a couple weeks since I've done a live stream. Last couple weeks with other stuff going on. Just haven't quite got around to doing this, but glad to be here this week. Got a lot of things to talk about, so hopefully you are looking forward to this as well. As always, feel free to say hello in the chat, ask questions, comment, tell me about cool things that you're seeing in the world of search, in the world of recommendations, all of that good stuff. This week, there's a few things I kind of wanted to go through. I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the content that's out in the community. So there's some cool things going on. A lot of people talking about crawlers the last couple of weeks. So that seems to be a topic of discussion. So I'll show some of the blog posts that I've encountered. If there's anything else you've seen, feel free to let me know about it, and I can bring it up on upcoming shows. There's a couple pieces of Algolia content I can show off as well. And then we're going to spend the brunt of today playing around with Strapi. Strapi Conf is next week. And so I thought that would be kind of a fun thing to do. Look into playing with Strapi. It's a technology that I actually haven't really used until this week. So I'm learning it right alongside of you all. So let's just jump right into it. Let me shift a couple things around. First thing, like I said, last week I was not doing this Tuesday stream. Part of the reason was we had a big live coding session on last Wednesday. Hopefully some of you were in attendance. I'll drop a link to the recording here. But we had the folks from OpenBase. And if you don't know OpenBase, actually, let's bring OpenBase up. Oh, actually, I think I have it here. Let's see. OpenBase is essentially a meta repository across package managers. So you can go in here and you can do a search for, say, like a date picker. And you can see they've got them broken up by categories. Date pickers, specifically Angular date pickers, specifically React date pickers. And then as you click through, let's see. Try that again. React date picker. Let's take this one here. There we go. So you can see what they've done is they've sort of aggregated all the information from NPM, but they've also sort of given you some really cool metadata, including reviews from community members. Some pretty cool UI, really powerful tool for looking up resources. You can look across Python as well. For those that don't know, I used to help manage, I can't type, but I used to help manage a CloudFormation linter. As you can see, here's the page for CFN lint. CFN lint, yay. No reviews yet. If anyone's used that and liked it, give it a review there. But anyway, so we had a really good discussion about how the OpenBase team implemented Algolia. And one thing I really liked about the conversation is that we had representation both from the front-end devs and the back-end devs. So we got to talk a lot about how they aggregate all that information, how they're pulling in information from NPM, from PyPy, from all the different package managers, the cargo folks over at Rust, and how they take all of that, how they normalize it, and how they bring that into their backend, and then how they surface that as Algolia indices. And then also got to have a really cool conversation with Kim, one of the front-end engineers, who actually did some live coding and kind of walked through some of the process that they went through, pivoting their front end, their existing front end, right, the components that they sort of already had, to use Algolia. Historically, they were using some sort of more basic search tools. It's GraphQL based. They're very much a GraphQL shop. And so Kim and the front end team were able to take the existing components and change the, I guess, the back of the front end, maybe you call it, to consume directly from Algolia indices as opposed to consume from their GraphQL middleware that they typically run. So it's a really good conversation. Check it out. I put a link in the chat over there if you want to see it. So that's my excuse for why I wasn't here last Tuesday. Moving on from that, I wanted to show a couple things that some community members have published over the last couple weeks. The first one is from our buddy Miguel. Sorry, Miguel, that's not the most flattering. Let's see if we can, there we go. He's thinking hard there. So Miguel has done a lot of great Spanish language content for us, a lot of live coding over on YouTube. And this particular one, Miguel is going through an exercise demonstrating how you can build a Twitter-like interface using Algolia autocomplete. So the concept here is that you go ahead and you build like a chat box or a tweet box where you can use @ signs and actually reference users, and then it can go pull those in, and you have an autocomplete experience where you can select a user from a drop down, drop it into your text, and then continue typing. And he builds that whole experience from scratch using Vita, React, and the Algolia autocomplete library. So that's a really good one. I really enjoyed watching that. It's about half an hour. Again, he builds it from beginning to end. Very exciting to watch that. And then beyond that, we had a couple of blog posts, again, around crawlers and crawling and extracting content for media use cases, right? Particularly blog use cases. So the first one was from Gleb, Dr. Gleb, PhD. And he was going through, we had an interesting conversation talking about text extraction. Gleb has their own scraper for their blog built using, I want to say Alpine? Cypress, I'm sorry, Cypress. So using Cypress to go and sort of crawl the site, scrape out all of the blog data, but it was generating a significant number of records. And so we kind of had a really good conversation about what should constitute a record in Algolia. And Gleb went and ran with that and sort of drilled in here and found some really good opportunities to sort of maybe reduce the number of records, but make sure that the records are actually accurate in so much that they represent a piece of content that you would want to get dropped directly into if you did a search, right? So if, say, you were doing a search for a specific chunk of code, it could drop you into the code sample, or it could drop you into the appropriate paragraph, but not making it so granular that it, like every single individual heading or comment in a piece of code became its own record. So I would encourage that. It's a really good article, not just on scraping content, but on really on right-sizing records and making sure that your records are appropriate to the user experience that you want to have, right? Then changing gears, going from sort of a roll your own scraper here to the Algolia crawler. So Raymond Camden wrote a really, really great sort of insightful post of his experiences using the Algolia crawler on one of his websites, his Cold Fusion site, Cold Fusion Cookbook. So he kind of talks about the experience from the very beginning, from very first login, all the way through sort of setting up a crawler using the Algolia crawler. One thing he does point out, the Algolia crawler, it's not free, so it's not part of our free tier. It is an add-on that you would have to purchase separately if you were looking to use it commercially. But the crawler is foundational to our doc search experience. So if you're running an open source project or a nonprofit project that has documentation or has a blog associated with it, you can apply to our doc search program. And if you qualify, we'll give you access to a crawler and some tools to build out a really nice documentation search or media search experience within your site. It's baked into a lot of documentation platforms like Docusaurus. So you can kind of get that search experience into your documentation without a lot of heavy lifting. But Raymond was using this specifically for his personal blog. So this is a lot more sort of the experience you would have using our crawler as a product. So kind of an interesting read, especially if you don't have experience with the crawler. I know because it's not part of the free tier, you don't really get to kick the tires on it the way you do some other pieces. This could be a good tool for evaluating if it's something that you would potentially want as part of your data ingestion experience for your Algolia. So that's sort of it for community content. As far as the Algolia content that went out in the last couple of weeks, we have our last blog post by our beloved alumni DevRel, Brian Robinson. Brian finished up this article right before he jumped over to Orbit, which is a tool that we love. So we're glad to have him over there. But it was nice to have this one last piece of content for those that have attended these streaming sessions before. This relates back to when we were doing the hackathon, the coding contest back in December. Brian was live coding some of those challenges that I had set up. And as part of one of them, we were putting a date picker into a web UI, and we had a couple snags. There is a date picker component that you can bring into Instant Search, our Instant Search front-end component packages. It's not part of the core Instant Search. It is its own component that you have to bring in. So Brian talks about finding that out over on the Algolia Code Exchange. And I've been bad about links. So let me drop a few links in here before I move on. This is to Glabe's article about their scraper, and then this is Raymond's article about his experience with the crawler. And that gets us caught up to Brian's date picker experience. So yeah, as I was saying, kind of talks through the process of going and picking this out from the Algolia Code Exchange. If you haven't heard us talk about the Code Exchange, this is where we coalesce sort of all of the different community and solution-based tools that could be useful for you as you're building out your Algolia experience. So like if you do a search here, as Brian did for date range picker, you can see here is a existing widget that you can just kind of grab and go. Like if you said Nuxt3, you can see this is that Nuxt3 module that we talked about, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago from Jacob Andruski. So all of this stuff sort of coalesces here. So it's a great kind of place to start if you're looking to sort of build out a particular experience. Out of curiosity, foreshadowing, there's a really great Strapi module that we're going to have to get in here, but I'll be showing you that in a second. Anyway, so bottom line is Brian kind of walks through the nuances of getting this range picker up and running. There's a couple things you need to know. In particular, this date picker is built on top of Duet.ds, their date picker. So you need to make sure that you include both modules. I won't go through the whole thing, but anyway, a lot of good information here if you're looking to put a date range experience into your search. Second thing is an article from one of our engineers. So this article was actually written by Emmanuel Krebs, who's one of our senior software engineers. And this isn't as much about using Algolia. This is actually more about how we're built. And it's kind of a really interesting read about some architectural decisions that we made recently as we started to embrace React hooks internally. So we recently released React hooks for Instant Search in beta, and we're actually consuming React hooks internally as well. And this is really good read about how we try to normalize our data ingestion layer for our front end. So rather than having a lot of different components that are each going and maintaining their own state, pulling data from the back end, and sort of surfacing it willy-nilly kind of in an unstructured way within their individual class components, we have now moved to a more centralized model where there's sort of a centralized data extraction, and then that state information is now available across components thanks to React hooks. So I'm probably not doing the article 100% justice, but I encourage you to read it if you're curious to see some really kind of interesting ideas around the benefits of extracting state from your individual components and building sort of a more centralized, more event-driven, hook-driven approach to your front end. I think that's all for Algolia content. The next piece is StrapiConf. StrapiConf is next Wednesday, March 16th, and Thursday the 17th. I think there's some workshops on the 17th. The majority of sessions will be on the 16th. Algolia is a sponsor for this year's StrapiConf. So we'll be there. I'll be there. We'll be hanging out in a booth. You can stop by, say hello, ask questions, chit chat with us, keep us company. Would love to see you. Lots of great sessions there as well. And because of StrapiConf, I will fully admit that I have not been historically a Strapi user, and I was looking for an excuse to dig into it. So I thought that it would be maybe sort of fun to, that's interesting. That's better. To take this opportunity to go and learn a little bit more about Strapi. So if you're not familiar with Strapi, as I was, Strapi is an open source. Let's see if we can bring this up here. Strapi.io. Strapi.io. It's an open source headless content management system. So what sort of differentiates it? One is that it's an open source piece of software written, I believe, JavaScript. Yep, in JavaScript, that you can self-host. So this isn't a SaaS solution. This is a ball of code that you can pull down. You can run yourself. You could run it on Heroku or on a cloud provider or on bare metal, and you can build out your own content management system that surfaces APIs that you can then consume in your front end. And so playing with it, I thought those are some interesting differentiators. I thought it was pretty cool that you could kind of pull it down and run it yourself. By default, it does sort of store your data in a SQL-like database, but that's configurable. There are other data sources that you can throw in there. It's got a really nice UI, as we'll see, some really good tools for helping you sort of build out your schemas, your data schemas, and define your different content types. And it does a really good job of surfacing those as APIs that you can then consume. Another piece that I really liked is it's got some really good security controls around being able to generate tokens and things like that. So I've been kicking the tires on it for the last couple of days. I've been playing around with a few different things. Oh, the one other thing that's really interesting about it is that it has a plugin architecture, and there is an existing Algolia plugin for Strapi. So Matty Bundle, who is I'm not sure what Strapi calls them, a community champion, an ambassador, but very active in the Strapi community, has built out a really polished plugin for Strapi to go ahead and index your content and surface a search provider that you can then consume in your front end alongside the content itself, to go ahead and essentially just have an evergreen sort of, as you publish content, all that content gets pushed out directly into an index. So I played with it a little bit yesterday, and well, why don't I show you what I had so far, and then I'll show you what I think we're going to try and do today, which is essentially try and build out a blog using Strapi. So basically, there's a couple of different quick starts here. Let's see. But this is the one that I think I kind of want to drill into because it goes into building the front end piece, which honestly I haven't done yet. And let's see. So let me, did I close out the other quick start? Let me bring up that quick start. I might have closed it out. So hello out there in viewer land. I haven't seen any comments, but glad to see you out there. Here we go, quick start guide. So this is a quick start that I followed yesterday, and essentially, like, they have a Create Strapi app, and this is actually really robust. One thing I noticed is this is kind of like a default, just get something up and running quickly. But if you look at the getting the blog one, where's the blog one? Oh, did I lose it already? Yeah, it actually has like a templating system to it. So you can actually say things like, I want to use the template blog. And so it'll install with some pre-baked content, some predefined content types, and some settings that will sort of let you jumpstart different projects. The initial one that I did, like I said, was using this. Oh, here, let's bring this over. Using this just kind of generic quick start. So basically, like you fire it up, it goes ahead and pulls down the code base. Let's see, I think I've got it. It's a little bigger here. Yeah, so basically, like you've got this whole code base here written in JavaScript with a bunch of configuration, server configuration, all of that good stuff, and by default runs on port 1337 locally. Let me make sure I don't have my other one running, and I'll just bring this up so you can see it. Yep, got this one running. Let me jump over. So we'll bring this up. All right. Yeah. So I'll pop this up. So yeah, the cool thing is you get this really clean interface. This is going to change because I have different content types for these two different things. But you can go into the content manager here. So you can see this is just like the example here. The quick start is all about sort of building up these restaurants. And there's a nice little wizard for sort of building up collection types, right? So you can define your restaurant. You can define, I think I've got categories in here as well. And it's fairly easy to just build out a new content type. New versions available. Wow, already. That's pretty cool. So we can say like create new collection type and say it's like live streams, right? And so you can see like it starts to build out the API here for you. Oh, live stream. Yeah, I get like Ruby on Rails vibes off of this, right? With the sort of the concept of objects and the pluralizations and things like that. Anyway, so this is my content type as a live stream. And then say I have a text field, which is the title, right? And then I have, so can I do a URL field? It doesn't look like a URL field. So we'll make that a text field too. We'll make that the URL. And then we can do like a rich text long form for, say, a description. And then broadcast beat. And then finish. And then boom, we've got this new content type. And we can go up into our content manager. Oh, wait. I suppose we need to save it first. Oh, that's right. So this is interesting. When you save it, it actually has to restart the server. Again, this is using like I think a SQLite database on the back end. So everything's basically just like a really clean, simple schema definition UI, I guess. But once you've got these things built, it's really easy to go in here and create a new entry, and then it gives you a nice UI based on all the different pieces. So I feel like it kind of resonates well with like Algolia users, right? Because one of the really interesting things about Algolia is you've got sort of these API-based tools for developers to sort of build out data ingest and build out front ends. But then you've got kind of this clean UI to help the business types go in and actually do things like address ranking, prioritization, throw in banners, things like that. Very similarly, like this is some like nice clean tools so that like you can build out a simple UI for your content folks to come in and populate this, or you can obviously do it all programmatically because it's all API based on the backside, with with it being a headless CMS. So like here I've got this post published here. Let's see. Oh, if I go into the content type builder, I think posts here. There's a way like I was seeing like the actual APIs here. But But anyway, like, so kind of a cool, clever concept here. And then the other thing is, like I said, it has a plugin architecture. So as you'll see in just a little bit, we're going to go ahead and add in a plugin for Algolia that allows you to sort of take what's published here and drop it out into an index fairly easily. So we're going to try that out too. And then the last piece I wanted to show off from what I was playing with yesterday was there is this opportunity to build out a little bit of security. So you have this concept of roles. You have authenticated in public by default, and then you have the ability to generate API tokens and other things. So like here, I generated a token for the front end, a read-only token for the front end, and then I went ahead and modified some of my, where are my roles here? Modified some of my content to be only consumable via authenticated users, right? So this API category plugin okay, so if you go look in Postman here, you can see on my Strapi backend, I've got that token in here as a bearer token. And so like here, we'll show my restaurants here. Authenticated user, restaurants. So you can see like I have this restaurant endpoint you can only get to as an authenticated user. So if I come in here, using my bearer token, I get access to my restaurants. But if I say no auth, it's blocked. So you get some, you don't have to think too much about the security. That's sort of baked into with the ability to add in tokens, and really robust roles, right? You could have one role for access to restaurant information, and then another one for reviews. If you have, say, like a group that has to review the reviews before they're allowed online, right? Moderators. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Anyway, so that's where I've gotten to up to this point. What I thought I would do today with the half hour that we have remaining is play around with expanding on this blog example that was here. And this is using a Next.js front end. So we're going to use this Strapi template that builds out a blog. And let me go ahead, we'll kill off this one and bring up the other one. So, and I already took the liberty of setting up the basic. Oh, got to go into the back end here. So when you install from this template, you get a lot of stuff kind of just right out the gate. So like if I go into Content Manager, let's say I can authenticate here. And so you can see we've got this concept of articles, categories, users, and writers, and then these singletons, globals, and homepage. So that's all kind of described here, and that's all coming out of that template. So you can see sort of all these pieces are there, and they've already injected a bunch of content for us. So we've got these articles here, about 6 articles already pre-dropped into our content management system. So we've got that much in. The one piece that I want to do before we jump to the front end is I want to go ahead and get the Algolia plugin in here. So we're going to jump over here to, and I'll show you if you want to follow along. This is the quick start that I'm doing right now. Links. So many links. Okay, and this is the Algolia plugin. For those that are already on the Strapi side and want to see the plugin. So we're going to jump in on this. So you can have, this is using the Create Strapi app. We're going to use the one that we've already got. We're not going to create this collection type because we've already got one. And this is telling us to put our Algolia credentials, our app ID, and our admin key into the env file. So I've already done that. I'm not going to show that here, but I've already dropped those into my env file. And now we're ready to install this plugin. So there are two pieces. There's the Strapi plugin search and the Strapi provider search. So I'm going to go ahead and grab those two. I'm going to install via npm. Oh, there's a nice little copy thing here. Cool. Love it. You know what? I'm going to bring this down because we're probably going to have to reload because of the plugin anyway. But we'll do this here. Okay, we'll bring those two in. And then there's a configuration file associated with it. So this is going to be our first plugin. So we're going to need to create this plugin.js from scratch. I think I put it in the right place. Plugin.js. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and paste that in here. So you can see we've got our search module here enabled. The provider is set to Algolia. It's pulling in the API key and app ID, and then the content types API post. And that's what shows up as your index name too. So I'm not sure if there's a lot of flexibility there as far as like defining a name. Oh, let's see. We're going to go ahead and switch that, aren't we? Because we don't have posts, we have articles. So let's see. So they have it set up. Don't you love overloaded words? Which of these do you think? Let's see, post. Let's see. What do you think we need to switch that to? Is it article or post article or article post? Let's take a peek. Let's take a peek over here. So that's the interesting thing about it. Oh, I turned it off. That's the interesting thing about it being called post there. Let's take a look and see what happens with our article one. See, is this going to make us re-sign in? Oh, it's having trouble here. Oh, because we got to let's see. We got to put that in there. I'm going to try this as article post. Let's see if I can get this to come up. No. Now we're going to search config, search plugin, config validation provider is required field. Yeah. Did you not pick that up? Let's see. Just make sure, is it plugin or plugins? We are looking at plugins plural. That's part of the problem. So it makes sense. Middlewares is plural here too. So plugins is plural as well. Okay, so again, I have no idea if this is right, but I at least want to go in and look at my content types to try and see if I can suss out what that's supposed to be. Okay. And we're back up and running at least. Okay, cool. Dun, 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 hooray for live coding. Let's see here. So let's see. Article. All right, so let's find out. This is content types. So let's do some Google Foo. Content types. Post. Yeah, I'll do this. Understand. Well, you know what? We got a 50-50 chance here, right? So I'm going to think that it is noun verb article post as opposed to post article. So let's find out, right? Go ahead and exit out of here. Is there anything else I've forgotten to do before we start playing to see if it starts indexing? So go ahead and install. We went ahead. We've got our configuration here with my hacked together content type. And then the next thing we're supposed to do is post a post. So we'll go ahead and do an article, which is our version. So I'll go to my content manager and we'll create a new article titled Planning Strapi Indexing Trial and Error. We will learn how to index articles with Strapi Algolia plugin. Okay. And then I'm just going to drop my config book. I don't know if this has markdown or anything like that. I'll just do this. It's code blocks. Oh yeah, cool. It does use markdown style. Nice job, Strapi. Another win. Can I do a JS on here? I guess it's not JS. It's just it's JS. We'll do JS. Okay. What does that look like? There it is. Not great, but I like it. That's fine. Okay, cool. Markdown. Oh, I'm in love. Markdown. Yes, of course. All right, so we're going to save it. And we're going to publish it. And we're going to look over here. And I don't see any errors. Let's go into our indices. Let's see, can I refresh? I'm going to refresh my list. I can't remember how to do that. Okay, we're just going to do this. Don't see a new index. It doesn't bode well. Let's see here. Let's try this. All right. Go back into our content manager. Gonna unpublish this. Let's do a save. Try to publish again. API article. Neither of those is post. This is an article. All right. Learning Strapi. Hopefully you all are learning along with me. Save, unpublish, publish. Okay, let's see. All right, there we go. Development API, article. And there we go. So you can see our articles are now being indexed. Now you'll notice this is hook-based, if you will, or plugin-based mechanism for indexing, which means that only that most recent one got indexed. And this is hooking off of, I believe, the publication. So what we would have to do here is essentially take all of these articles. Is there a way to unpublish them? No. Okay. So one thing to-do list, right, is how to index bold content, ? Now for the sake of today, we've got this. Let's see, can we do? Can you change the state of multiple ones? Looks like all I can do to a group is delete. Or I could unpublish and republish each one individually. Does that put it in our index? That is not my favorite thing in the world, but that is a thing that we can do for today. So let's get one more in here too, right? What's inside a black hole? So yeah, I wonder, I bet there's an API way to do this, right? We could probably programmatically do this in bulk, or obviously like they're sitting in a SQLite database, so there's probably a way to extract the articles from the database and index them that way. But I would love a go backwards approach here. There's got to be something we can do there. I'll keep looking into that. That'll be a to-do item. But for now, at least we've got, looks like 3. Did that one come across? No. Yep, there it is. Yeah, I'll grab one more. Learning the Strapi indexing, that's the one we just did. This shrimp is awesome. I love awesome shrimp. All right, let's get that in there too. Cool. Okay, so now we have Strapi content that is being indexed via the Algolia plugin. Where's my shrimp? There's my shrimp. Okay, cool. So we do a search for indexing. There's indexing. Shrimp. So we've got searchable content here. All right. So we've got, what, about 12 minutes left. Let's go ahead and start building on a front end for this puppy. All right, so front end setup. The easiest part has been completed. Let's get our hands dirty developing our blog. Sure. Okay, so we want a front end app. I think I did this part. We've got a front end directory. No, haven't done it yet. Okay. So we'll go ahead and go in here. Do they want us to create the directory ahead of time, or do they want to create next front end app? Okay, cool. So do that. Just want to make sure I didn't build a front end in the back end, because that would be silly. Yep, okay, cool. I couldn't remember how far I came with this. So we're building that up. And then we're going to install some packages here. So we need Moment, React Moment, and React Markdown. Display publication days, okay. And the content of articles in Markdown. Yes, hooray for Markdown. Yeah, we run our blog off of WordPress, and that is like one of the most frustrating things to me is the lack of Markdown support. I suppose we could get a plugin to do it in Markdown, but we just don't have it yet. So I'm always, as soon as I say I can write Markdown, I am super excited. I am a big fan. So let's see. Did I get the NPM version of that? That's a Yarn version. Let's go to the packages here. Looks like we've got all our table stakes. QS. You also need the QS package, query string parsing, and stringifying library. Huh. Cool. Query string handler. Oh, you know what? I ran that in the wrong folder. All right. That's okay. This is where traffic count being the world's strongest front end causes problems. All right. Fetch the data from Strapi. First, you need to create a function to fetch data from your Strapi API. Okay. So we're going to grab a piece of code here. Maybe. There's not a copy paste on this one. Better going down? Yep. Okay. So we're going to build an API.js file here. Let me see. I just want to make sure. There's QS moment, React moment. Okay, cool. I just want to make sure it all went in the right place here. And so they're saying front end lib. And we're going to build, calling it API.js. See, this is using our QS. Full Strapi URL from the path. Okay. And then it's going to reroute to the local version of Strapi that we're running here. Let's get some helpers. Okay, cool. So we've got that helper function. So that should be get Strapi URL. Next public Strapi API URL. Okay. And then this is, it looks like you can define where your Strapi is running. Ours is running locally, so that's fine. And then fetch API, this function gets the request URL thanks to the get Strapi URL function above. Mm-hmm. And it calls the fetch function. Cool, so it's going to be able to pull stuff down. So then we need another function to fetch the media files. I'm not sure how much we're going to mess with media files here, but we'll go ahead and put this in. All right. All right. It's the correct URL of an image, depending on where it's hosted. All right. Yeah, I'm not sure how much we're going to be able to do. I'm not going to mess with Cloud and Array today, that's for sure. Okay, so let's add the following code to your next config.js file in order to access remote images. And we'll drop that in. Again, I'm skeptical that we're going to get to this. Weird. Okay, cool. So theoretically, this is everything we need to be able to pull stuff from Strapi. Okay, now CSS. All right, we'll just use their styling. I'm okay with that. Run assets CSS style CSS. Front end. And none of the structure matches up. That worries me. Okay. CSS. I'd be worried that like none of the structure is there. It really doesn't seem like it's matching up too well. Come on. Style CSS. All right. So now we've got our styling, and now we're ready to start working on our app. Okay, first you need to override the default in order to add UI kit. The stylish font. Most importantly, you need to fetch the global site settings, which are basically the global single type Strapi. Okay, so let's go ahead and grab this. App.js. Take the simple one. Place it with something a little more complicated. And save it. And let's see. So you can see here that the fetch API function created earlier is used to order the fetch global single type in Strapi. Let's see, what's in that type? Oh, nice. Strapi blog, page titles, a lot of nice defaults. Okay, cool. I like it. Get initial props and global. Very cool. Okay, cool. So let's go to grab our global props. And then the document.js file to include UI kit and our font. All right. So let's see, we're going to grab this lovely piece of code, maybe. Document class. Pages. Oh, that's good. Worrisome. Hopefully this matches up. I wonder if this is a version of Next.js problem. Should I be concerned, Next.js heads? Let's see what version they say. That'd be 12. They don't tell what version of Next.js, so let's just keep rocking and rolling and see what happens. We've got our app, we've got our document, a lot of HTML in here, okay, and then we need some components. We're going to start with a front-end component. Okay, yes. It'd be nice if we could fire this thing up incrementally. I would like to know that at least this much of it was going to work. Okay, there's a navigation bar. Let's get some categories, okay, and then layout. It would be so sad if this just falls apart very quickly. Okay, we're bringing our nav bar, categories and children, okay. And SEO component. Oh, trust me, I don't think we have to worry about SEO for this site, but let's go ahead and pull that in anyway. And what else? And then images, which again, not super worried about, but we'll go ahead and bring that in. Is it image singular? Image singular. All right, and what else do we need? A lot of pieces here, right? Stick with me, only 2 components left to create. I love it when the author just knows that you're like, this is a lot. All right, here we go. And that's articles plural, the JS. Image singular, but articles plural. Save that. Let's see. And that's going to bring in our articles that we were just playing with. And then finally, cards. Individual cards. Front end is all about cards these days, huh? Card-based. No, I have mixed feelings about cards. I feel like they waste a lot of white space, personally. But maybe the resolutions on screens are such now that like it's not a big deal to waste some space. And maybe you're just seeing bad on a card UI. Okay, you're now ready to create your pages. All right. Front end pages index.js. All right, some static prop stuff. Getting articles, categories, homepage stuff, dropping it all in. Index.js. They're overriding you. Ooh, I have to export here. All right. I grab a home page, as well as category and article collections, and display all that using the components we created. For the home page call, populate hero and then SEO populate by default. Start before the REST API is no longer populating components. So you got to go request stuff. Here we say for the homepage single type, we want to populate the hero component, get all the fields, but also the SEO component. See that you can specify it in different ways. Wow. Okay, cool. So this is basically saying this is how we initialize with our initial data call, rather than it just grabbing everything. That's pretty cool. All right. Should we see what happens? Oh my gosh. I am terrified. That is not what I wanted. I wanted a new console down here. I have no idea what's going to happen, but let's give it a try. NPM. Oh my goodness. Oh, that didn't launch. Server error. Invalid source prop. Oh, it's having an image issue. Localhost is not configured under images in your next config.js. Oh, we did that. I'm impressed though. We got fairly far. Where's my next config.js? Domains localhost. Sure looks like it's configured. What am I doing wrong? Domains localhost. It's because of this constants config. You know what? I think it's this, right? We need to do this. Sorry, don't know next as well as I should here, huh? Okay, is that going to be better? This. All right, what have I broken now? Oh, I didn't close that. I see. My bad. None that. Okay. Try this again. Category property attributes of null. Category data attributes. Give it one more try here. That's in which page? Cards. Aha. Components. Cards. All right, if I just tangle this even more, let's see. Is it card or cards? It's card. Okay, it is card. Sorry, name. Card. That was the problem. And now we're back to our attribute issue. Article attributes, category, data attributes, name. Take a look at our data here. Article. Category. I wonder if it's because my new article isn't in any categories. Let's see. I'll do tech. Article. Let's see. How do I associate a category here? Oh, here we go. Relations. And author. Aha. Okay, so let's try that now. Category, tech, author, David Doe. Save that. All right, let's see if that makes any difference here. All right, and then image data. Oh, because there's no image. So you have to fill this stuff in. So I've botched it by the very act of trying to add in my own piece of content here. Let's see if we can fix this, and then if this doesn't fix it, maybe I'll delete this piece of content and see if we can at least get this much up and running. Let's see. Just grab that. Okay. All right, that should be all the pieces of content here. There we go. Look at that. So it's my own fault. So I didn't have all of the fields completed, and this is not necessarily fault tolerant enough not to have it. So there we go. So we've got our little blog here. Here's my learning Strapi indexing. That didn't work. What about this one? Does this one work? Well, we're not quite there yet. Not quite there yet. But at least we've got this index page up and running. And I think I'm going to park it there. We're at 312. So next week, maybe right before the conference, we'll take this, we'll clean it up, get the rest of it working, and then we're going to get a search bar up here. And that's going to be our goal for next week. So with that, I think I am going to be leaving you for the day. Hopefully you learned something. Check out some of the blog posts and videos that I was talking about earlier. Again, always feel free to ask questions. One other thing I'm going to be doing, maybe next week, depending on how long this Strapi stuff takes, is there was a question in the discourse forums. Cameron Wilder Booth. You had an interesting question around search results based on frequency. You've got this sort of interesting data where you have these tags that can show up multiple times. And your hope is that this second record, which has the word Tucson in it more often, would be ranked above the other one based on frequency. That's something I haven't played with. So I am definitely going to play around with this a little bit. And I will put some comments in here, and maybe we'll pick it up again next week on the live stream. One thing I will say is that if you're in the dashboard, when you're looking at these rankings, you see this little It's kind of going right over top of it, but there's a little ribbon or something that looks like a ribbon right there. This will show you why one result ranked higher than another, and it might help you with understanding sort of how all these different settings fit together. But I'm also going to go through and play with it as well and see what I can figure out. And hopefully we'll have an answer for you for next week. So anyway, I want to thank all of, I wasn't showing the screen for that. My apologies, I'll show that real quick. This is what I was talking about. So you can see the results with Tucson here. So definitely, and then when I was showing the little ribbon is right there, and that shows you why one result is ranked higher than another one. So in the dashboard, that might be a useful tool for troubleshooting why this one with a single instance of Tucson would rank higher than Tucson. But yeah, I'm definitely going to dig into that, and we'll pick it up next week. So thanks again. Great hanging out with all of you, and I will see you again soon. Bye.